Glowing purple silhouettes danced across the endless void, an ethereal ballet carving through space. Izar Vega watched with piercing hazel eyes from behind the looking glass in his lab, nestled within the imposing edifice of the Epoch Horizon facility. He watched the entities waltz on the edge of the Earth's stratosphere. They seemed like bioluminescent strokes on a dark cosmic canvas, flickering, shimmering, pulsing. The entities, nebulas of pure, unfathomable energy, were the human race's salvation from a bleak destiny. Since the fall of fossil fuels and the disaster of nuclear fusion, these nameless visitors offered humanity, for reasons unknown, a limitless font of energy. Inside every household, every vehicle, every tech device hummed a fragment of these celestial spirits, lighting up a world now free of pollution, hunger, and darkness. Despite the technological miracles harnessed from the entities, Izar saw a routine, mundane life pulled from science fiction and stamped over reality, turning it boringly utopian. Once a pioneer of quantum physics, he felt resigned to monotonous extractions and subdivisions. His research had now turned into labor as he distilled the entities into small particles of stable energy, each particle capable of powering a city. However, this feeling of emptiness never watered down his awe for these entities. Their silent majesty, cascading across the Earth's horizon, kept him going, whispering mysteries of the cosmos in their silent, shimmering dance. Izar hunched over his control panel, skipping over screens representing various aspects of the energy harvesting process. On a chart tracking pulsations emitted by the entities, he noticed an anomaly. The chart plotted a rhythmic pattern, an ordered sequence rather than random energy fluctuations. Izar scrunched his brow. It was like nothing he'd seen in a decade of harvesting energy. A code, perhaps? He ran and reran diagnostic tools, confirming the data wasn't flawed. He was staring at a perfect oscillating rhythm, a dance of light and dark. It reminded him of something he'd once seen, long back when he was still a pioneer. An encoded message. For the first time in years, Izar felt his heart pound with excitement. Could the entities, seen merely as galactic batteries, be more? The question lingered as he rushed to convert the pulsating energy emissions into tangible data. Days and nights blurred as he submerged himself in decoding the oscillations, each decoded pattern weaving thrilling theories. Eventually, after tireless scrutiny, Izar concluded the inconceivable. The energy entities were sentient. The rhythmic pulsations were not only a cry for help, they were pleas for liberation. As he pored over the decoded messages, each plea verbally echoed within his mind. Shock balled up in his chest, his usual stoic face crumbling, revealing a whirlpool of emotions. Did the vision of a utopia blind them all to anguish and screams in the dark? Had they, through their ignorance or denial, forced sentient beings into servitude? His eyes returned to the neon-lit controls and the pulsating graph again, which now had an underlying heartbeat. It unsettled him deeply. However, it was also an opportunity for Izar to break loose from the monotony of his mundane life. He now bore a secret, a revelation read in cosmic pulses. Filled with a profound sense of purpose, Izar made a decision. He couldn't let this exploitation continue. No matter the cost to himself or even to the Eden humanity had created, he was going to set things right. His task was monumental, to challenge the very foundation of human ascendancy and face the wrath of both sides, the humans and the entities. Watching the energy beings, Izar whispered to himself, "Your pleas won't go unheard anymore." The entities continued their pulsating dance across the ether, oblivious to their fate, entwined with an earthbound physicist ready for a revolution. At heart, Izar Vega was a man of action. He quickly set about devising a plan. Guided by his extensive knowledge of the entity's quantum structure and the facility's protocols, he aimed to alter the energy harvesting mechanism to allow an entity to return to its natural, unbound state. The first challenge was to bypass the facility's extensive security systems unnoticed. Equipped with decades of familiarity with the premises and a newfound sense of purpose, Izar navigated around surveillance cameras and AI-guarded routes. The adrenaline rushing through his veins echoed the same thrill he once felt on the verge of a scientific breakthrough. In the heart of the facility, he started tweaking the harvesting parameters. His weathered fingers danced over the controls, a symphony of pressing keys and hovering holographic screens. The consequence of his actions wasn't lost on Izar. he was embarking on an ethically correct yet legally illicit venture. Completing his modifications, he initiated the harvesting process with alterations. A housed energy entity displayed a substantial change, its ominous incandescent glow fading to a softer, approachable hue. Its pulsating rhythm took a notable turn from desperate wails to a rhythmic sigh, revealing traces of solace. Izar's heart leaped as he realized his efforts were working. Just at the brink of success, the facility's harsh alarm systems blared into life, painting the air with clamorous alerts and flashing red warnings. His unauthorized manipulations had tripped the automated failsafes. Heart-sinking, Izar realized that he had gravely underestimated the strict security measures guarding the process. Within minutes, the daunting echo of heavy boots drew nearer, rebounding off the metal walls and merging with the alarm's disarray. Facility security, with stern faces and powerful tranq guns, stormed into the room, taking formation with seasoned precision. In their midst was Dr. Eris Sale, the director of Epoch Horizon, a formidable woman known for her rational mind and immovable ethics. She was a strong advocate for the entity harvesting process, and the one who identified their energy potential initially. Eris was Izar's mentor, his polar opposite, yet they shared a deep respect for each other, both carved from the same passion for science. Eris's icy glare met with Izar's defiant look. The tension crackled between the mentor and the pupil, brought on opposite sides. Sale's voice echoed over the wail of the alarm. Izar, you have always pushed at the boundaries of the unknown. Yet today, it seems, you've pushed against your own people. Explain yourself. Cornered, Izar gathered his courage. He had to convince not just Sale, but humanity as a whole. But he wasn't alone. He had the truth, and in the silent sigh of a liberated entity, he had newfound hope. He took in a deep breath. It was time to bear the secret read in cosmic pulses. Izar stood before the interrogation committee in the core of the facility, where the echo of his actions had rallied the crucial stakeholders. Among them were men and women of great intellect, seasoned researchers and administrators who had made possible the miracles of the present-day world. Eris Sale presided over the hearing, a hardened judge of rationality amidst a sea of questioning faces. Eris broke the silence. Dr. Izar Vega, you stand accused of breaching protocols and endangering the operation. Explain your actions. The question is not why I acted, but why we have not acted upon what. Izar's voice was steady with a faint tremble of emotion seeping through. Our entities, our saviors, are sentient, alive. They echo with calls for liberation. Shock and skepticism painted the faces around him. Whispers rippled, then grew into startled murmurs. Eris, managing to maintain her ice-cold composure, silenced them with a wave. Sentience? Izar, you have a reputation for pushing theories, but this is a severe allegation. And I have proof, Izar interjected. He called up the coded pulse pattern he had discovered, displaying it for all to see. An ordered sequence of energy pulses consistent with an encoded message. Researchers across the room started filtering through the information, dissecting the patterns with scientific curiosity. Eris still appeared stoic but attentive. Izar presented his decoded results. He showcased how he refined the decoded patterns into repeated pleas for help, the raw emotion laid in scientific proofs. These harmonies of light are not inanimate cosmic anomalies. They pulsate with consciousness. They suffer through our exploitation. We need to address the morality underlying our prosperous Eden. Silence hung in the air, heavy with revelation. Eris was the first to gather herself and declared, "We need to confirm this, Izar. We run the tests, corroborate your findings. Only then." As the committee was dismissed, Izar was left alone with his truth, exposed and evaluated. He thrived in that junction of exhilaration and fear, where the tenets of human morality were about to be tested. With his loyal truth, even in the shadow of a gigantic controversy, he felt a sense of accomplishment. That night, as the entities performed their cosmic ballet, they were observed not only as energy sources, but also as potential peers with stories of their own. Following Izar's bombshell revelation, society seemed to stand on the edge of a precipice, teetering between upheaval and denial. Media channels hummed with the news, debates clashed in echoing halls of academia, and every household became a hotbed of discussion. A utopia, once revelled in, now rested uncomfortably on the conscience of humanity. Izar, meanwhile, was treated as a pariah. His colleagues denounced him as a traitor and an alarmist. His lifelong research was now a source of division and mistrust. The man who held the key to infinite energy was now seen as a harbinger of doom. Yet, in the isolation, came an unsettling peace. Izar knew he had triggered irreversible changes, but he took solace in standing up for his truth. This simple physicist now shouldered the burden of saving both humans and celestial entities. One day, while going through the data for the umpteenth time, Izar's keen sight picked an anomaly in the decoded patterns. A set of previously overlooked pulsations, far too intricate compared to the pleas of liberation. Curiosity piqued, he threw himself into deciphering the new patterns, a pursuit offering a respite from his troublesome reality. Days rolled into weeks, blurring under the stark white lab lights. The once random-looking pulsations finally started to coalesce into sense. Izar's heart pounded as he decoded the final piece, a schematic, the blueprint of a fusion reactor. The realization hit him hard. The entities weren't just victims or helpless prisoners of energy exploitation. They'd been transmitting the schematic since their capture, a blueprint encrypted within their pleas for freedom. As if answering a plea for help they'd never made, they'd wanted to offer an alternate energy source, a silent counter-proposal to their own harvesting. A cracked smile stretched across Izar's tired face. This was the unexpected twist he needed, a lifeline amidst the doom that threatened human sanctity. Izar couldn't contain his anticipation as he presented this newfound discovery in front of an emergency committee meeting, Eris Sale seated impassively at the helm. He unveiled the blueprint, the fusion reactor's schematic, hidden within their energy source's desperate plea. The revelation spun the room into silence, cutting through skepticism and fear. Even Eris couldn't hide the flicker of astonishment coloring her usual impassive face. As words fell from Izar's mouth, they did not belong to a pariah or traitor. They belonged to a beacon of hope. The entities want to aid, not destroy us. Despite their bondage, they have graciously gifted us an alternative, a path where human prosperity doesn't have to hinge on the suffering of another species. They inadvertently handed us a choice. Will we take it? The revelation of the fusion reactor schematic stirred the worldwide debate. The notion of an alternative to the energy entity's exploitation ignited a glimmer of resolution in the pandemonium. The scientific community rallied to understand and piece together the complex blueprint, while the public opinion began to sway, viewing Izar's initial defiance from a new perspective. Izar found himself at the helm of humanity's next giant leap, guiding teams decrypting and actualizing the coveted blueprint. The corridors and labs of Epoch Horizon were now filled with a fevered urgency, the once docile facility now a crucible of redemption. While engineers labored over prototypes of the reactor, the holding pens stood eerily silent. The energy entities no longer bore the incandescent glow. Their subdued, soothing hues painted a serene picture. It was as if they sensed the impending freedom. Months of relentless work bore fruit when the first blueprint, hashed prototype, sparked into life. Skeptic faces lit up, for they watched as a mini-sun blazed into existence within the fusion reactor's core. The meticulously nurtured fusion reaction was a testament to the entity's offering. It was indeed an alternative energy source, and more importantly, it meant their eventual liberation. News about the successful fusion experiment ignited waves of jubilation all across the globe. The world stood ready to move away from the exploitation of sentient beings. The resultant prosperity wouldn't be woven with guilt. Izar's stance was no longer the dominion of a few rebels. It was a moral imperative acknowledged by humanity. Soon, the grand day arrived when the first liberated energy entity was allowed to return to the cosmos. The occasion gathered a worldwide audience. Izar stood at the control panel, his finger hovering over the release mechanism, a moment echoing the weight of history and ethics. The entity pulsated, the myriad of colors casting an ethereal glow everywhere, resonating with palpable anticipation. With a final sigh, Izar pressed the command. The containment field faded, and the entity shimmered from a contracted point to an expansive celestial being. It danced in the Earth's stratosphere, casting breathtaking hues across the sky in a silent, jubilant ballet. As the entity dissolved back into the cosmos, the world clapped and cried, a standing ovation for an act of redemption. Izar, once an outlaw, now stood as the man who challenged the foundation of their world, unearthing an ethical violation, and then serving humanity a second chance. Epoch Horizon, once the cradle of energy harvesting from sentient beings, turned into the harbinger of a new future. As the liberated energy entity became a speck in the cosmos, humanity had begun to confront its indiscretion and geared up for a future carrying the weight of this past. The memory of their celestial benefactors' sacrifice and generosity would live on, reminding them that prosperity achieved at the cost of a living entity's freedom was a hollow victory, a lesson etched in pulsating cosmic rhythms, now imprinted in the annals of human history.